back. They're not going to come out in the audience. It means there's going to be some things that are a little different. They're going to try, I have a mic, right? There's going to be some things that are a little different tonight. There's going to be some people standing a little further away than they normally would. Fortunately, the two people who have COVID are a couple on stage, so they'll be fine together. They just can't talk to anybody else. So you'll just see a few times when Miss Prism and Dr. Chasuble are a little further away from the rest of the cast, and that's because some of the cast have jobs with small children and want to make sure they keep away from them. So I appreciate your being able to put up with this. It will not affect the fact that this is a fabulous show. So 20 years ago, just a little over 20 years ago, a small group of, at that time it was just members of the church, got together and decided they wanted to do a performing arts ministry. And they went to the chapel. For those of you who aren't familiar, the chapel is way over there. It's the original part of this church. It's very small. There are no lights. There are no microphones. And they decided to put on a show. They put on The Importance of Being Earnest. It's the first show they ever did here. That's why we're doing it again now, 20 years later, to celebrate that first cast. Of that first cast and crew, we have one cast member who's back. Not playing the same role. If you read your programs, you'll figure out who. We also have somebody running lights who ran lights in the original show. So there's some longevity here. Yeah. Come on, David. He needs it. I will say that when they did it in the chapel, he fell asleep between Act 1 and Act 2 and thought the show was over. He's not going to do that tonight, right, David? Okay. There is an intermission. There's an intermission between Acts 1 and Act 2. You'll know it's the intermission because these big curtains right here will close and the lights will come up. Between Act 2 and Act 3, there is no intermission. These things don't close. The lights don't come up. You'll just see people scurrying around on stage. If you get up and leave during that part, you're going to miss something. So don't leave during the second act change. But the first one, there's about a 10-minute intermission. What am I supposed to say? Take out your cell phones right now. Make sure that they are turned off. Because I know you think you did it, but somebody didn't. Somebody with a really loud ringtone. So go ahead and do that now. And you also don't need them to take pictures because we've already taken some really, really good pictures of the show. And you can see them. If you get the virtual program, you'll see some of them in the back of it. And we're going to have a video. So you may have noticed the camera here. We are taking a video tonight. If you need to leave in the middle of the act and you go up the middle aisle, you will be in the show. So I would suggest you take the outside. If you'd like to be in a show, let me know. We'll put you in a later one. What else am I supposed to say? I've got my list here somewhere. You're not supposed to shout out suggestions. I'm always supposed to ask, how many people here are not members of this church? Always good to see. I would say about a little more than half of the cast is not members of this church now. It's become very much a community outreach program, and we love the support this church gives us for that. But thank you for coming. Hopefully you didn't have any trouble getting here, and we hope we survive the storms. The programs, there is an online program, there's a paper program. You're welcome to keep the paper program. You can get people to sign the back of it. You can save it. You can put it, take it at home. You can put it up on your wall. Whatever you want to do. If you save playbills, that is fine. But if you're just going to take it home and throw it away, turn it in at the back and we'll use it tomorrow. That way we don't have to print more, and we don't have to raise our ticket prices. So thank you very much for that. I'm supposed to read the names of all the sponsors, but yet again, I forgot to bring their names up here. So if you wouldn't mind looking at the program and looking at the sponsors and thinking fondly of them, because this wouldn't happen without them, especially the ones at the director level. They've done fabulous things for us, and we really appreciate that. That's it. This is going to be an interesting show. It is absolutely a funny show. What I will tell you is last night the audience was very noisy, and it made the show better. So every bit of energy that you can give them, especially tonight, they will give back to you 100 times over. So be loud. Laugh at everything, even if you don't get it. There's a list of terms in the book you can read about. And please, very much, enjoy.
Did you hear what I was playing, Lane?
I didn't think it polite to listen, sir.
Well, I'm sorry for that, for your sake. I don't play accurately. Anyone can play accurately. But I play with such wonderful expression. As far as the piano is concerned, sentiment is my forte. I keep signs for life.
Yes, sir.
Speaking of signs for life, have you got the cucumber sandwiches cut for Lady Bracknell?
Yes, sir.
Oh, by the way, Lane, I see in your book that last Thursday night, when Lord Shulman and Mr. Worthing last night here, 8 bottles of champagne are entered as having been consumed.
Yes, sir. 8 bottles and a pint.
Why is it that at a bachelor's establishment, the servants invariably drink the champagne? I ask merely for information.
I attribute it to the superior quality of the wine, sir. I've often observed that in married households, the champagne is rarely of a first-rate brand.
Good heavens, is marriage as demoralizing as that?
I believe it is a very pleasant state, sir. I've had very little experience of it myself up to the present. I've only been married once, and that was in consequence of a misunderstanding between myself and a young person.
I don't think I'm interested to hear about your family life, Lane.
No, sir, it is not a very interesting subject. I never think of it myself.
Very natural, I'm sure. That would do, Lane. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Lane's views on marriage seem somewhat lax. Why, if the law orders don't set us a good example, what on earth is the use of them? They seem, as a class, to have absolutely no sense of moral responsibility.
Mr. Ernest Worthing.
Earnest, my dear fellow, what brings you up to town?
Pleasure, pleasure. What else should bring anyone anywhere? Yeah. Eating as usual, I see, Algy.
Well, I believe it is quite customary in polite society to have some slight refreshment at 5 o'clock. Where have you been since last Thursday?
Yeah. In the country?
What on earth do you do there?
Well, when one is in town, one amuses oneself. When one is in the country, one amuses other people. It is excessively boring.
And who are the people you amuse?
Neighbours.
Got nice neighbours in your part of Shropshire?
Perfectly horrid. Never talked to one of them.
How immensely you must amuse them. Oh, by the way, Shropshire is your county, is it not?
Shropshire? Yes, of course. Hello. Why all these cups? And why cucumber sandwiches? Why such reckless extravagance and one so young? Who's coming to tea?
Oh, merely Aunt Augusta and Gwendolyn.
Oh, how perfectly delightful.
Yes, it's all very well, but I don't think Aunt Augusta would quite approve of you being here.
May I ask why not?
My dear fellow, the way you flirt with Gwendolyn is perfectly disgraceful. It is almost as bad as the way Gwendolyn flirts with you.
Well, I am in love with Gwendolyn. I've come to town expressly to propose to her.
I thought you came here for pleasure. I call that business.
How utterly unromantic you are.
There is nothing romantic in proposing. It is very romantic to be in love, but there's nothing romantic about a definite proposal. Now, one may be accepted, one usually is, but then the excitement is all over. The very essence of romance is uncertainty. If I ever get married, I will certainly try and forget the fact.
I have no doubt of that, my dear Algy. The divorce court was invented specially for people whose memories are so curiously constituted.
No, there's no use speculating on that subject. Divorces are made in heaven. Please don't touch the cucumber sandwiches. They're made specially for Aunt Augusta.
But you've been eating them the whole time.
That is a different matter. She is my aunt. Here, have some bread and butter. The bread and butter is for Gwendolyn. Gwendolyn is devoted to bread and butter.
Hey, quite good. Bread and butter it is, too.
My dear boy, you don't have to eat it as if you're going to eat it all at once. You are not yet married to her, and I don't think you ever will be.
Why on earth do you say that?
Well, firstly, girls don't marry the men they flirt with. Girls don't think it right.
That is nonsense.
It isn't. It's very true, and it accounts for the extraordinary number of bachelors one sees all over the place. In the second place, I don't give my consent.
Your consent?
My dear fellow, Gwendolyn is my first cousin. And before I allow you to marry, you will have to answer to the question of Cecily.
Cecily? What on earth do you mean now, by Cecily? I don't know anyone by the name of Cecily.
Bring me the cigarette case Mr. Worthing left in the smoking room last time he dined here.
Yes, sir.
Do you mean to say you've had my cigarette case this whole time? I wish to goodness you told me. I've been writing frantic letters to Scotland Yard about it. I very nearly offered a large reward.
Well, I wish you would. I happen to be more than usually hard up.
There's no sense in offering a large reward now that the thing is found.
That is very mean of you, Ernest, I must say. However, it makes no matter, because now that I look at the inscription inside, I see the thing isn't yours after all.
What do you mean it isn't mine? You've seen me with it 100 times. And you've no right to read what's written inside. Well, it's very ungentlemanly to read one's own private cigarette case.
No use in making a hard and fast rule about what one should and what one shouldn't read. Modern culture depends on what one shouldn't read.
I'm quite well aware of the fact, and I don't propose to discuss modern culture. It's not the sort of thing one discusses in private. I mean, I simply want my cigarette case back.
Yes, but this case is a present from someone of the name of Cecily, and you said you don't know anyone of that name.
Well, if you want to know, Cecily is my aunt.
Your aunt?
Yes, my aunt. And a charming old lady she is, too. She lives in Tunbridge Wells. Just give it back to me, Algy.
Yes, but why does your aunt, who lives in Tunbridge Wells, call herself Little Cecily? From Little Cecily with her fondest love.
What is there in that, dear boy? Some aunts are tall and some aunts are not tall. Certainly, that is the sort of thing that an aunt should be able to choose for herself. You seem to think that all aunts should be exactly as your aunt. That's perfectly absurd. Just give it back to me, Algy.
Yes, but why does your aunt call you her uncle? From Little Cecily with her fondest love to her dear Uncle Jack. Now, I admit to an aunt, being a small aunt, but an aunt, no matter what her size may be, will call her nephew her uncle. Besides, your name isn't Jack at all, it's Ernest.
It isn't Ernest, it's Jack.
You have always told me your name was Ernest. I've introduced you to everyone as Ernest. You answer to the name of Ernest. You look as if your name was Ernest. Why, you are the most earnest-looking person I ever saw in my life. It is absurd to say your name isn't Ernest. It's on your cards. Ernest Worthing, B4, the Albany. I will keep this as proof that your name is Ernest in case you try to deny it to me or to Gwendolyn or to anyone else.
But the thing is, I'm Ernest in town and Jack in the country, and the cigarette case was given to me in the country.
Yes, but that does not account for why your small Aunt Cecily, who lives in Tunbridge Wells, calls you her uncle. Come on, old boy, you better have the whole thing out at once.
Algy, you talk as if you were a dentist. It's very vulgar to talk as if one was a dentist when one isn't a dentist. It gives a false impression.
Well, that's exactly what dentists do. Now, go on, tell me the whole thing. I will say, I've always suspected you of being a confirmed and secret bunburyist, and now I know that for a fact.
A bunburyist? What on earth is a bunburyist?
I will tell you the meaning of that incomparable expression as soon as you tell me why you're Ernest in town and Jack in the country.
Well, produce my cigarette case first.
Here it is. Now produce your answer, and pray, make it improbable.
There's nothing improbable about my answer at all. It's quite ordinary. Old Mr. Thomas Cardew, who adopted me when I was a little boy, named me in his will guardian to his granddaughter, Miss Cecily Cardew. Cecily, who refers to me as uncle for motives of respect you couldn't possibly appreciate, lives at my place in the country under the charge of her esteemed governess, Miss Prism.
And where is this place in the country, by the way?
That's no business of yours, dear boy. I'm going to see to it you're not invited. But I will tell you candidly, it's not in Shropshire.
Oh, I suspected that, my dear fellow. I have Bunburyed all over Shropshire on 2 occasions. Now go on. Why are you Earnest in town and Jack in the country?
Oh, Algy, I don't know if you'll be able to appreciate my true motives. You're hardly serious enough. When one is named as guardian, one has to adopt a very high moral tone on all subjects. It is one's duty to do so. And as a high moral tone cannot be said to conduce to one's health or to one's happiness, I have always pretended to have a younger brother by the name of Earnest, who lives at the Albany and gets into all manner of dreadful scrapes. Well, that's the whole truth of it, pure and simple.
The truth is rarely pure and never simple. Modern life would be very tedious if it were either, in modern literature, a complete impossibility.
That would hardly be a bad thing.
Literary criticism is not your forte. Don't try it. You should say that for people who haven't been to university. They do it so well in the daily papers. No, what you are is a Bunburyist. I was right in saying you were a Bunburyist. You are one of the most advanced Bunburyists I know.
What on earth do you mean?
You have invented a very useful younger brother named Earnest in order that you may be able to go into town whenever you'd like. I have invented a perfectly invaluable invalid named Bunbury. Now, if it wasn't for Bunbury's extraordinary bad health, for instance, I wouldn't be able to dine at Willis's with you tonight, for I've been engaged to Aunt Augusta for more than a week.
I haven't asked you to dine with me anywhere tonight.
I know. You have such a way of not sending out invitations. Nothing annoys people more than not receiving an invitation.
I really think you'd best eat with your Aunt Augusta.
I haven't the smallest intention of doing anything of the kind. Firstly, I dine there on Monday, and once a week is enough to dine with one's own relations. In the second place, when I do dine there, I'm treated like a member of the family, and I am sent down with either no woman at all, or 2.
Oh.
In the third place, I know exactly who she will place me next to tonight. She will place me next to Mary Farquhar, who always flirts with her own husband across the dinner table. That is not very pleasant. Indeed, it is not even decent. That kind of thing is on the rise. The amount of women in London who flirt with their own husbands in public is perfectly disgraceful. It looks so bad, it's like washing one's own clean linen in public. Besides, now that I know you to be a confirmed Bunburyist, naturally I want to talk to you about Bunburying. I want to show you the rules.
I'm not a Bunburyist. If Gwendolyn accepts me, I'm going to kill my brother. I may kill him in any case, actually. Young Cecily is a bit too interested in him. No, I'm going to get rid of Ernest, and I really do encourage you to get rid of your your invalid friend with the ridiculous name.
Nothing will induce me to part with Bunbury. And if you want to marry, which I find to be extremely problematic, you too should get to know Bunbury. A married man who does not know Bunbury has a very tedious time of it.
Oh, that is nonsense. If I marry a charming girl like Gwendolyn, and really she is the only girl I ever would marry, I certainly wouldn't want to know Bunbury.
Then your wife will. You seem to forget that in marriage, there is company. and 2 is none.
That is the theory that the corrupt French drama has been propounding for the past 50 years, my young friend.
Yes, and the happy English home is proved in half the time.
That is cynical. No, don't be cynical. It's far too easy to be cynical.
My dear boy, it isn't easy to be anything nowadays. There's so much ghastly competition about. That must be Aunt Augusta. Only creditors and relatives ring in such a Wagnerian manner. Now, if I get her away for 10 minutes in order that she may be able to propose to Gwendolen, may I dine at Willis's with you tonight?
Oh, yes, if you want to.
Yes, but you must be serious. I don't like people who aren't serious about meals. So shallow.
Lady Bracknell and Miss Fairfax.
Good afternoon, dear Algernon. I hope you're behaving very well.
I'm feeling very well, Aunt Augusta.
That's not quite the same thing. In fact, the two things rarely go together.
Dear me, you are smart.
I am always smart. Aren't I, Mr. Worthing?
Oh, you're quite perfect, Miss Fairfax.
Oh, I hope I'm not that. You will leave me no room for developments, and I intend to develop in many directions.
I'm sorry if we're a little late, Algernon, but I was obliged to call on dear Lady Harbury. I hadn't been there since her poor husband's death. I never saw a woman so altered. She looks quite 20 years younger. And now I'll have a cup of tea and one of those nice cucumber sandwiches you promised me.
Certainly, Aunt Augusta.
Gwendolen, you will come and sit here.
Thank you, Mamma. I'm quite comfortable where I am.
Good heavens! Lane, why are there no cucumber sandwiches?
There were no cucumbers in the market today, sir. I went down twice.
No cucumbers.
No, sir. Not even for ready money.
Thank you, Lane.
Thank you, sir.
I'm terribly distressed to hear that there were no cucumbers, Aunt Augusta. Not even for ready money.
Oh, it really makes no matter, Algernon. I had some crumpets with Lady Harbury, who seems to me to be living entirely for pleasure now.
I hear her hair has gone gold with grief.
It certainly has changed its color, but from what cause I, of course, cannot say. Thank you. I have quite a treat for you tonight, Algernon. I'm going to send you down with Mary Farquhar. Oh, she's such a nice woman and so attentive of her husband. It's delightful to watch them.
I am afraid, Aunt Augusta, that I will have to give up the pleasure of dining with you tonight, after all.
Well, I hope not, Algernon. It would put my table completely out. Your uncle would have to dine upstairs. Fortunately, he is accustomed to that.
It is a great disappointment, and I must say that my dear friend, Bunbury, I received a telegram that he is very ill, and they think that I should be with him tonight.
It is very strange. This Mr. Bunbury seems to suffer from curiously bad health.
Yes, poor Bunbury is a dreadful invalid.
Well, I must say, Algernon, I think it is high time that Mr. Bunbury made up his mind whether he was going to live or to die. This shilly-shallying with the question is absurd. And nor do I approve in any way of the modern sympathy with invalids. I consider it morbid. Illness of any kind is hardly a thing to be encouraged in others. Health is the primary duty of life. I'm always telling that to your poor uncle, although he never seems to take much notice, especially as far as his ailment goes. But I would much appreciate it if you would ask Mr. Bunbury from me to kindly not have a relapse on Saturday, for I rely on you to arrange my music for me. It is my last reception, and one wants something that encourages conversation, particularly at the end of the season when everyone has practically said whatever they had to say, which in most cases is probably not much.
Well, I'll speak to Bunbury, Aunt Augusta, if he is still conscious. And I think that he shall be all right by Saturday. The music, however, is of great difficulty. You see, if one plays good music, people don't listen. If one plays bad music, people don't talk. But I have written down the program. If you would come with me, kindly, into the other room.
Thank you, Algernon. It is very thoughtful of you. I am sure the program will be delightful after a few expurgations. French songs I cannot possibly allow. People seem to think they're improper and either look shocked, which is vulgar, or laugh, which is worse. But German, I think, is a perfectly respectable language. Indeed, I believe it is so. Gwendolen, you will accompany me.
Certainly, Mamma.
Quite charming day it has been, Miss Fairfax.
Pray don't talk to me about the weather, Mr. Worthing. Whenever someone talks to me about the weather, I always feel quite certain they mean something else, and it makes me so nervous.
I do mean something else.
I thought so, and I am never wrong.
And if I may be able to take advantage of Lady Bracknell's temporary absence,
I would certainly advise you to do so. Mamma has a way of coming suddenly back into a room that I've often had to speak to her about.
Gwendolen, ever since I have met you, I've admired you more than any girl that I've ever met. Since I met you.
Yes, I'm quite aware of the fact. And I often wish that in public, at any rate, you had been more demonstrative. For me, you have always held an irresistible fascination. Even before I met you, I was far from indifferent to you. We live, as I hope you know, Mr. Worthing, in an age of ideals. The fact is constantly mentioned in the more expensive monthly magazines and has even reached the provincial pulpits, I'm told. My ideal has always been to marry someone by the name of Earnest. There is something in that name that just inspires absolute confidence. The moment Algernon first mentioned to me that you had a friend called Earnest, I knew I was destined to love you.
Do you really love me, Gwendolen?
Passionately.
Darling, you don't know how happy you've made me.
My own Earnest.
Well, of course. You don't mean to say that you couldn't love me if my name wasn't Earnest.
But your name is Earnest.
Oh, yes, I know. But suppose it was something else. You're saying you couldn't love me then?
That is clearly a metaphysical speculation. And like most metaphysical speculations, has very little reference at all to the actual facts of real life as we know them.
Well, personally, darling, to be quite candid, I don't care much about the name Earnest. I don't think the name suits me at all.
It suits you perfectly. It is a divine name. It has a music all its own. It produces vibrations.
No, well, really, Gwendolen, I really do think there are some much nicer names. I think the name Jack, for instance, a perfectly charming name.
Jack? No, there is very little music in the name Jack, if any at all, indeed. It does not thrill. It produces absolutely no vibrations. Besides, Jack is a notorious domesticity for John. And I pity any woman who is married to a man called John. She will probably never be allowed to know the entrancing pleasure of a single moment's solitude. No, the only really safe name is Earnest.
Oh, Gwendolen, I must get christened at once. I mean to say, we must get married at once. There's no time to be lost.
Married, Mr. Worthing?
Well, surely, you know that I love you, and you led me to believe, Miss Fairfax, that you're not absolutely indifferent to me.
Oh, I adore you. But you haven't proposed to me yet. Nothing has been said at all about marriage. The subject has not even been touched on.
Well, may I propose to you now?
Oh, I think it would be an admirable opportunity. And to spare you any possible disappointment, Mr. Worthing, I think it's only quite fair to tell you, quite frankly beforehand, that I am fully determined to accept you.
Gwendolen, my own one.
Yes, darling, what have you got to say to me?
You know what I've got to say.
Yes, but you don't say it.
Gwendolen, will you marry me?
Of course I will, darling. Oh, how long you have been about it. I'm afraid you've had very little experience in how to propose.
My own one, I've never loved anyone in the world but you.
Oh, yes, but men often propose for practice. I know my brother Gerald does. My girlfriends always tell me so. What wonderfully blue eyes you have, Ernest. They are quite blue. Oh, I hope you will always look at me just like that, especially when there are other people present.
Mr. Worthing, rise, sir, from this semi-recumbent posture. It is most indecorous.
Mamma, I must ask you to retire. This is no place for you. And besides, Mr. Worthing was not quite finished yet.
Finished what, may I ask?
Mr. Worthing and I are engaged to be married, Mamma.
Pardon me, you are not engaged to anyone. When you do become engaged to someone, I, or your father, should his health permit him, will inform you of the fact. An engagement should come on a young girl as a surprise, pleasant or unpleasant as the case may be. It is hardly something she could be allowed to arrange for herself. And now I have a few questions to put to you, Mr. Worthing. While I'm making these inquiries, Gwendolen, you will wait for me below in the carriage.
Mamma?
In the carriage, Gwendolen. Gwendolen! The carriage.
Yes, Mamma.
You can take a seat, Mr. Worthing.
Thank you, Lady Bracknell. I prefer standing.
I feel bound to tell you that I do not have you on my list of eligible young men, although I have the same list as the dear Duchess of Bolton has. We work together, in fact. However, I am quite ready to enter your name should your answers be what a really affectionate mother requires. Do you smoke?
Yes, Lady Bracknell, I must admit I do smoke.
I am glad to hear it. A man should always have an occupation of some kind. There are far too many idle men in London as it is. Now, how old are you?
29.
A very good age to be married at. I have always been of the opinion that when a man desires to get married, he should either know everything or nothing. Which do you know?
I know nothing, Lady Bracknell.
I am pleased to hear that. I do not approve of anything that tampers with natural ignorance. Ignorance is like a delicate exotic flower. Touch it and the bloom is gone. The whole theory of modern education is radically unsound. Fortunately, in England, at any rate, education produces no effect whatsoever. If it did, it would prove a serious danger to the upper classes and probably lead to acts of violence in Grosvenor Square. Now, what is your income?
Between 7,000 and 8,000 a year.
In land or in investments?
Investments, chiefly.
That is satisfactory. What between the duties expected from one during one's lifetime and the duties exacted from one upon one's death, land has ceased to be either a pleasure or a profit. It provides one with position and prevents one from keeping it up. That's all that can be said about land.
Well, I do own a house in the country, of course, with some land attached. About 1,500 acres, I believe. But I don't rely on that for my primary source of income. Now, as a matter of fact, near as I can make out, it's the poachers who are the only ones who make anything of it.
A house in the country? How many bedrooms? Well, that point can be cleared up afterwards. You have a townhouse, I hope. A girl with as sweet and unspoiled a nature as Gwendolen can hardly be expected to reside in the country.
Well, I do own a townhouse in Belgrave Square, but it is let by the year to Lady Bloxham. However, I can get it back at any time with just 6 months' notice.
Lady Bloxham? I don't know her.
She goes about very little. She is a lady significantly advanced in years.
Nowadays, that is no guarantee of respectability of character. What number, Belgrave Square?
149.
The unfashionable side. I thought there was something. Well, that could easily be altered.
The fashion or the side?
Well, both, I imagine, if need be. Now, what are your politics?
I'm afraid I really don't have any. I'm a liberal unionist.
Oh, they count as Tories. They dine with us, or come in the evening at any rate. Now to minor matters. Are your parents living?
I have lost both my parents, Lady Bracknell.
To lose one parent, Mr. Worthing, may be regarded as a misfortune, but to lose both looks like carelessness. Who was your father? He must have been a man of some wealth. Was he born into what the radical papers call the purple of commerce, or did he rise in the ranks of the aristocracy?
Well, I'm afraid, Lady Bracknell, I really don't know. I have said that I have lost both my parents, it may be nearer to the truth to say that they seem to have lost me. For you see, I don't know who I am by birth. Well, you see, I was found.
Found?
Yes, the late Mr. Thomas Cardew, a man of extremely kind and charitable disposition, found me and gave me the name of Worthing. Mostly because he had a first-class ticket to Worthing in his pocket at the time. Worthing is a place in Sussex. It's a seaside resort.
And where did this charitable gentleman with the first-class ticket to this seaside resort find you?
In a handbag.
A handbag?
Yes, Lady Bracknell, a handbag. A rather large black leather handbag with handles to it. A rather ordinary handbag, in fact.
In what locality did this Mr. James or Thomas Cardew come across this ordinary handbag?
In the cloakroom of Victoria Station. It was given to him by mistake for his own.
The cloakroom of Victoria Station?
Yes, the Brighton line.
The line is immaterial. Mr. Worthing, I feel I must say I am quite bewildered by what you have just told me. To be born, or at any rate bred, in a handbag, whether it had handles or not, shows me a contempt for the decencies of family life, which reminds one of the worst excesses of the French Revolution. I presume you remember what that unfortunate movement led to. As for the locality in which this handbag was found, a cloakroom in a railway station may serve to conceal a social indiscretion, but it can hardly be looked upon as an assured basis for a responsible position in good society.
Well, then, Lady Bracknell, I guess I would ask what you would advise me to do. It so hardly needs saying that I would do anything in the world to ensure Gwendolyn's happiness.
I would highly advise you, Mr. Worthing, to try and acquire some relations as soon as possible, and to make a definite effort to produce, at any rate, at least one parent of either sex before the season is quite over.
Well, I don't see how I could possibly do that, Lady Bracknell, but I could produce the handbag. Oh, yeah. Yes, it is my dressing room at home. I can produce it at any time. I really think that should satisfy you, Lady Bracknell.
Me, sir? What has it to do with me? You can hardly imagine that Lord Bracknell and myself would allow our only daughter, a girl brought up with the utmost care, to marry into a cloakroom and form an alliance with a parcel. Oh, good day, Mr. Worthing.
Good day. Don't play that ghastly tune, Algy. Oh, how idiotic you are.
Did it go off well, old boy? Don't tell me Gwendolyn refused you. She's always refusing people. It's so ill-natured of her.
No, Gwendolyn's right as a trivet. As far as she's concerned, we are engaged to be married. It's her mother that's unbearable. I've never met such a gorgon. Of course, I didn't really know what a gorgon is like, but I'm quite sure Lady Bracknell is one. In any case, she's a monster without being a myth, and that hardly seems fair. Oh, I beg your pardon, Algy. I shouldn't talk that way about your own aunt here before you.
My dear fellow, I love hearing my relations abused. It is the only way that I can put up with them at all. Relations are a tedious pack of people who haven't the remotest knowledge of how to live or the slightest instinct about when to die.
That is nonsense.
It isn't.
But anyway, I don't want to argue the point with you. You always want to argue about things.
Well, that is exactly what things were originally made for.
Upon my word, if I believe that, I do believe I'd shoot myself. You don't suppose Gwendolyn might become something like her mother? In a 150 years or so. Do you, Auntie?
All women become like their mothers. That's their tragedy. No man does. That's his.
Is that clever?
Well, it's perfectly phrased. And it's as true as anything in modern civilized life should be.
I am sick to death of cleverness. Everyone is so clever nowadays. Seems like everywhere you go, you just meet clever people. It's becoming an absolute public nuisance. I really do wish we had a few fools left.
We have.
Oh, well, I should extremely like to meet them. But what do they talk about?
The fools. Well, about the clever people, of course.
What fools?
By the way, did you tell Gwendolyn the truth about you being Ernest in town and Jack in the country?
My dear boy, the truth is not the sort of thing that one tells to a nice, sweet, refined girl. What extraordinary ideas you have about how to behave to a woman.
The only way to behave to a woman is to make love to her if she is pretty, or to someone else if she is plain.
That is nonsense.
Well, what about your brother? What about the profligate Ernest?
By the end of the week, I shall have got rid of him. I shall say that he died in Paris of apoplexy. People die of apoplexy all the time, quite certainly, don't they?
Yes, my dear fellow, but it's hereditary. It's the sort of thing that runs in families. You'd much better say a severe chill.
Are you sure that a severe chill is not hereditary or something of that sort?
No, of course it isn't.
Ah, very well then. My poor brother Ernest was carried off in Paris quite suddenly by a severe chill. That gets rid of him.
But I thought you said that Miss Cardew was a little too fond of your poor brother Ernest. Won't she feel his loss a great deal?
Oh, no worry about that. Cecily is not one of those overly romantic girls, I'm happy to say. No, she's got a capital appetite, goes on long walks, and never ever takes her studies seriously.
I would very much like to see Cecily.
I will see to it that you never do, dear boy. For you see, she is excessively pretty, and only just 18.
Have you told Gwendolyn that you have an excessively pretty ward who is only just 18?
That is not the sort of thing that one just blurts out. No. Gwendolyn and Cecily are perfectly certain to become very great friends. Well, I'll wager you anything you like that within a half an hour of their meeting, they shall be calling each other sister.
Women only call each other that after they call each other lots of other things first. Now, we really must go and dress if we want to get a good table at Willis's tonight. Do you know it is nearly 7?
It is always nearly 7.
I'm hungry.
I never knew you when you weren't, old boy.
Well, what shall we do after dinner? Shall we go to a theater?
Oh, no, I loathe listening.
Well, let us go to a club then.
Oh, no, I despise talking.
How about a trot around the Empire at 10?
Oh, no, I can't stand looking at things. It's all so silly.
Then what shall we do?
Nothing.
It's awfully hard work doing nothing.
Mm.
However, I don't mind hard work if there's absolutely no object of any kind.
Miss Fairfax?
Gwendolyn, upon my word.
Algy, kindly turn your back. I have something very particular to say to Mr. Worthing.
Really, Gwendolyn, I really don't think I can allow this at all.
Algy, you always adopt a strictly immoral attitude toward life, and you are not quite old enough to do that yet.
Gwendolyn, darling,
Mr. Worthing, I fear we may never be married. From the look on Mamma's face, I think we never shall. Few parents pay any regard to what their children say to them nowadays. The old-fashioned respect for the young is fast dying out. Whatever influence I had of Mamma, I lost at the age of 3. But although she may prevent us from becoming man and wife, and I may marry someone else, and marry often, nothing she can do can alter my eternal devotion to you.
Oh, Gwendolyn, My own?
The story of your romantic origin as related to me by Mamma with unpleasing comments has naturally stirred the deeper fibers of my nature. Your Christian name has an irresistible fascination to me, and the simplicity of your character makes you exquisitely incomprehensible. Your town address at the Albany I have. What is your address in the country?
Oh, the Manor House, Wilde, Hertfordshire.
And there is a good postal service, I suppose.
Yes.
It may be necessary to do something desperate, but that will, of course, require serious consideration. I will communicate with you daily. How long do you remain in town?
Oh, until Monday.
Very good. Algy, you may turn around now.
Thanks, I've turned around already.
And you may ring the bell.
You will let me see you to your carriage, my own darling?
Certainly.
I shall see Miss Fairfax out?
Yes, sir.
A glass of sherry, Lane.
Yes, sir.
Lane, I think tomorrow I shall go bumbering.
Yes, sir.
I probably won't be back till Monday, so you can put of all my dress clothes, my smoking jacket, and all of Bunbury's suits.
Yes, sir.
I hope tomorrow will be a very fine day, Lane.
It never is, sir.
Lane, you're a perfect pessimist.
I do my best to give satisfaction, sir.
Oh, there's a sensible, intellectual girl, and really the only girl I would have ever loved in my whole life. What are you so amused about?
Oh, nothing. I'm just a little anxious about Bunburyism.
If you don't take care, your friend Bunbury is going to get you into a serious scrape one day.
Oh, I love scrapes. They're the only thing that aren't serious.
That is nonsense, Algy. You never talk anything but nonsense.
Nobody ever does.
Cecily? Cecily? Surely such a utilitarian occupation as the watering of flowers is rather Knowlton's duty than yours, especially at a moment when intellectual pleasures await you. Your German grammar is on the table. Pray, open it at page 15. We will repeat yesterday's lesson.
But I don't like German. It isn't at all a becoming language. I know perfectly well that I look quite plain after my German lesson.
Child, you know how anxious your guardian is, that you should improve yourself in every way. He laid particular stress on your German as he was leaving for town yesterday. Indeed, he always lays stress on your German when he is leaving for town.
Dear Uncle Jack is so very serious. Sometimes he is so serious, I think he cannot be quite well.
Your guardian enjoys the best of health, and his gravity of demeanor is especially to be commended in one so comparatively young as he is. Oh, I know no one who has a higher sense of duty and responsibility.
I suppose that is why he often looks a little bored when we three are together.
Cecily, I am surprised at you. Mr. Worthing has many troubles in his life. Idle merriment and triviality would be out of place in his conversation. Oh, you must remember his constant anxiety about that unfortunate young man, his brother.
I wish Uncle Jack would allow that unfortunate young man, his brother, to come down here sometimes. We might have a good influence over him, Miss Prism. I'm sure you certainly would. You know German and geology and things of that kind influence a man very much.
I do not think that even I could produce any effect on a character that, by his own brother's admission, is irretrievably weak and vacillating. Indeed, I am not sure that I would desire to reclaim him. I am not in favor of this modern mania for turning bad people into good people at a moment's notice. As a man sows, so shall he reap. You must put away your diary, Cecily. I really don't see why you should keep a diary at all.
I keep a diary in order to enter the wonderful secrets of my life. If I didn't write them down, I should probably forget all about them.
Memory, my dear Cecily, is the diary that we all carry about with us.
Yes, but it usually chronicles the things that have never happened and couldn't possibly have happened. I believe that memory is responsible for nearly all the 3-volume novels that Muddy sends us.
Oh, do not speak slightingly of the 3-volume novel, Cecily. I wrote one myself in earlier days.
Did you really, Miss Prism? How wonderfully clever you are. And did it end happily? I don't like novels that end happily. They depress me so much.
The good ended happily, and the bad unhappily. That is what fiction means.
I suppose so, but it seems very unfair. And was your novel ever published?
Alas, no. The manuscript, unfortunately, was abandoned. I use the word in the sense of lost or mislaid. To your work, child, these speculations are profitless.
But I see dear Dr. Chasuble coming up through the garden.
Dr. Chasuble, this is indeed a pleasure.
And how are we this morning? Miss Prism, you are, I trust, well.
Oh, Miss Prism had just been complaining of a slight headache. I think it would do her so much good to have a short stroll with you in the park, Dr. Chasuble.
Cecily, I have not mentioned anything about a headache.
I know that, dear Miss Prism, but I felt it instinctively that you had a headache. Indeed, I was thinking about that and not about my German lesson when the rector came in.
I hope, Cecily, you have not been inattentive.
Oh, I'm afraid I am.
That is strange. Were I fortunate enough to be Miss Prism's pupil, I would hang upon her lips. I spoke metaphorically. My metaphor comes from bees. Mr. Worthing, I suppose, has not returned from town yet.
We do not expect him till Monday afternoon.
Yes, he usually likes to spend his Sundays in London. He's not one of those whose sole aim is enjoyment, as by all accounts that unfortunate young man, his brother, seems to be. But I should not disturb Egeria and her pupil any longer.
Egeria? My name is Letitia, Doctor.
A classical illusion merely, drawn from the pagan authors. I shall see you both, no doubt, at evensong.
I think, dear Doctor, I will take a stroll with you. I find I have a headache after all, and a walk might do it good.
With pleasure, Miss Prism, with pleasure. We might go as far as the schools and back.
That would be delightful. Cecily, you will read your political economy in my absence. The chapter on the fall of the rupee you may omit. It is somewhat too sensational.
Yes.
Even these metallic problems have their melodramatic side.
Horrid political economy. Horrid geography. Horrid, horrid German.
Mr. Earnest Worthing has just driven over from the station, miss. He brought his luggage with him.
Mr. Ernest Worthing,
Before the Albany W. Uncle Jack's brother. Did you tell him Mr. Worthing was in town?
Yes, miss. He seemed very much disappointed. I mentioned you and Miss Prism were in the garden. He seemed very anxious to speak with you privately for a moment.
Ask Mr. Ernest Worthing to come here, and I suppose you'd better talk to the housekeeper about a room for him.
Yes, miss.
I've never met any really wicked person before. I feel rather frightened. I'm so afraid he will look just like everyone else. He does.
You must be my little cousin Cecily, I'm sure.
You are under some strange mistake. I am not little. In fact, I believe that I am more than usually tall for my age, but I am your cousin Cecily. Oh, and you, I see from your card, are Uncle Jack's brother, my cousin Ernest, my wicked cousin Ernest.
I am not really wicked at all, cousin Cecily. You mustn't think that I'm wicked.
If you are not, then you've certainly been deceiving us all in a very inexcusable manner. I hope you've not been leading a double life, pretending to be wicked and being really good all the time. That would be hypocrisy.
Oh, well, I have been rather reckless.
I am glad to hear it.
In fact, now that you mention the subject, I have been very bad in my own small way.
I don't think you should be so proud of that, though I am sure it must have been very pleasant.
Well, it is much more pleasanter being here with you.
I don't understand how you are here at all. Uncle Jack won't be back till Monday afternoon.
Well, that is a terrible disappointment, for I am to be gone first thing by train on Monday morning. I have a business appointment that I am anxious to miss.
Couldn't you miss it anywhere but in London?
No, the appointment is in London.
Oh, well, I know, of course, how important it is not to keep a business engagement if one wants to retain any sense of the beauty of life, though I still think you better wait until Uncle Jack arrives. I know he wants to speak to you about your immigrating.
About my what?
You're immigrating. He has gone up to buy your outfit.
I would never let Jack buy my outfits. He has no taste in neckties at all.
I don't think you would require neckties. Uncle Jack is sending you to Australia.
Australia?
Yes.
I'd sooner die.
Well, he said at dinner on Wednesday night that you would have to choose between this world, the next world, and Australia.
Well, the accounts I've heard of Australia and the next world are not particularly encouraging. This world is good enough for me, cousin Cecily.
Yes, but are you good enough for it?
That I am not. Which is why I would like for you to reform me. You might make it your mission, if you would like, cousin Cecily.
I'm afraid I've no time this afternoon.
Well, I hope you don't mind my reforming myself, then.
It is rather quixotic of you, but I think you should try.
I will. I feel better already.
You're looking a little worse.
Well, that is because I am hungry.
How thoughtless of me. I should have remembered that when one is going to lead an entirely new life, one requires regular and wholesome meals. Won't you come in?
Thank you. Might I have a buttonhole first? I never have an appetite unless I have a buttonhole first.
A Maréchal Noël?
I'd sooner have a pink rose.
Why?
Because you are like a pink rose, cousin Cecily.
I don't think it can be right for you to talk to me like that. Miss Prism never says such things to me.
Well then, Miss Prism is a short-sighted old lady. You are the prettiest girl I ever saw.
Miss Prism says that all good looks are a snare.
They are a snare that every sensible man would like to get caught in.
Oh, I wouldn't care to catch a sensible man. I should know what to talk to him about.
Oh, you're too much alone, dear Dr. Chasuble. You should get married. A misanthrope I can understand. A woman-athrope never.
Believe me, I do not deserve so neologistic a phrase. The precept as well as the practice of the primitive church was distinctly against matrimony.
Well, That is obviously the reason why the primitive church has not lasted up to the present day. And you do not seem to realize, dear doctor, that by persistently remaining single, a man converts himself into a permanent public temptation. Men should be more careful. This very celibacy leads weaker vessels astray.
But is not a man equally attractive when married?
Oh, no married man is ever attractive. Except to his wife.
And often I've been told, not even to her.
That depends on the intellectual sympathies of the woman. Maturity can be depended on. Ripeness can be trusted. Young women are green. I spoke horticulturally. My metaphor was drawn from fruits. But where is Cecily?
Perhaps she followed us to the schools.
Oh, Mr. Worthing.
Mr. Worthing?
Is this a surprise? We did not look for you till Monday afternoon.
I have returned sooner than I expected. Dr. Chasuble, I trust you all well.
My dear Mr. Worthing, I trust this garb of woe does not betoken some terrible calamity.
My brother.
Oh, more shameful debts and extravagance.
Still leading a life of pleasure?
Yes.
Dead.
Your brother, Ernest, dead?
Quite dead.
What a lesson for him. I trust he will profit by it.
Mr. Worthing, I offer you my sincere condolence. You have at least the consolation of knowing that you were always the most generous and forgiving of brothers.
Poor Ernest. He had many faults, but it is still a sad blow.
Oh, very sad. Were you with him at the end?
No, he died abroad, in Paris, actually. I just received a telegram from the manager of the Grand Hotel.
Well, was the cause of death mentioned?
A severe chill, it seems.
As a man sows, so shall he reap.
Charity, dear Miss Prism, charity. None of us is perfect. I myself am peculiarly susceptible to drafts. Will the interment take place here?
No, he apparently expressed a desire to be buried in Paris, actually.
In Paris? I fear that doesn't point to any very serious state of mind at the last. You would, no doubt, wish me to make some slight allusion to this tragic domestic affliction next Sunday. My sermon on the meaning of the manna in the wilderness can be adapted to almost any occasion, joyful or, as in the present case, distressing. I have preached it at harvest celebrations, christenings, confirmations, days of humiliation, and festal days. The last time I delivered it was in the cathedral, a charity sermon on behalf of the Society for the Prevention of Discontent among the Upper Orders. The bishop who was present was much struck by some of the analogies I drew.
That reminds me, you mentioned christening. I suppose you know how to christen all right? Oh, of course, you are continuously christening, aren't you?
It is, I regret to say, one of the rector's most constant duties in this parish. I have often spoken to the poorer classes on the subject, but they don't seem to know what thrift is.
But is there a particular infant in which you're interested, Mr. Worthing? Your brother was, I believe, unmarried, was he not?
Yes.
And most people who live entirely for pleasure usually are.
Well, no, it isn't for any infant, actually, Dr. Chasuble. I do like children. No, actually, I would like to be christened myself this afternoon if you've nothing better to do.
But surely, Mr. Worthing, you've been christened already.
I have no memory of it at all.
But do you have any grave doubts on the matter?
I certainly intend to have. But I don't know if this would bother you in any way, or perhaps you think I'm A bit too old now?
No, not at all. The sprinkling or indeed immersion of adults is a perfectly canonical practice.
Immersion?
You need have no apprehension. Sprinkling is all that is necessary, and indeed I think advisable. Our weather is so changeable. At what hour would you wish the ceremony performed?
I thought I might trot on by around 5 o'clock, if that suits you.
Oh, perfectly, perfectly. In fact, I have 2 similar services to perform at that same hour. A case of twins that occurred recently in one of the outlying cottages of your own estate. Poor Jenkins the carter, a most hard-working man.
Oh, now, I don't think it'd be much fun to be baptized with other babies. They seem childish. Would 5:30 do?
Oh, admirably, admirably. Oh, but now, dear Mr. Worthing, I would not intrude any longer into a house of sorrow. I would merely beg that you not be too bowed down by grief. What seem to us bitter trials are often blessings in disguise.
Oh, this seems to me a blessing of an extremely obvious kind.
Uncle Jack! Oh, I'm so pleased to see you back. But what horrid clothes have you got on? Do go and change them.
Cecily!
Child, dear child.
What's the matter, Uncle Jack? Do look happy. You look as if you had a toothache, and I've got such a surprise for you. Who do you think is in the dining room? Your brother!
Who?
Your brother Ernest. He arrived about half an hour ago.
What nonsense. I haven't got a brother.
Oh, don't say that, Uncle Jack. However badly he may have behaved to you in the past, he is still your brother. You couldn't be so heartless as to disown him. I'll tell him to come out, and you will shake hands with him, won't you, Uncle Jack?
These are very joyful tidings.
Well, after we had all been resigned to his loss, his sudden return seems to me peculiarly distressing.
My brother is in the dining room? I don't know what any of this means. It seems perfectly absurd. Good heavens!
Brother George, I've come here to tell you how terribly sorry I am for all of the trouble that I have caused you. And that I intend to lead a much better life in the future.
Uncle Jack, you are not going to refuse your own brother's hand.
Nothing could induce me to take his hand. I think it perfectly disgraceful that he's down here. He knows very well why.
Uncle Jack, do be nice. There is some good in everyone. Ernest had just been telling me about his poor invalid friend, Mr. Bunbury, whom he goes to visit so often. And there must be much good in one who is kind to an invalid and leaves the pleasures of London to sit by a bed of pain.
Oh, he's been talking to you about Bunbury, has he?
Yes, he's told me all about poor Mr. Bunbury in his terrible state of health.
Well, I won't have him talking to you about Bunbury or anything else. It's enough to drive a man perfectly frantic.
Of course, I must say that the faults are all on my side. But I must say that I think Brother John's coldness to me is peculiarly painful. I expected a more enthusiastic welcome, especially considering the fact that it is the first time that I have come here.
Uncle Jack, if you don't shake hands with Ernest, I will never forgive you.
Never forgive me.
Never, never, never.
Well, it is the last time I shall ever do it.
It is pleasant, is it not, to see so perfect a reconciliation? I think we might leave the 2 brothers together.
Cecily, you will come with us.
Certainly, Miss Prism, my little task of reconciliation is over.
You have done a beautiful action today, dear child.
Let's not be too premature in our judgments.
I feel very happy.
Oh.
You young scoundrelity! You've got to leave here at this place as soon as possible. I don't allow any bunburying here.
I've put Mr. Earnest's things in the room next to yours, sir. I suppose that's all right.
What?
His luggage, sir. I've unpacked it and put it in the room next to your own.
His luggage?
Yes, sir. 3 portmanteaus, a dressing case, 2 hat boxes, and a large luncheon basket.
I'm afraid I can't stay for more than a week this time.
Merriman, call for the dog cart at once. Mr. Earnest has suddenly been called back to town.
Yes, sir.
What a fearful liar you are, Jack. I haven't been called back to town at all.
Oh, yes, you have.
Well, I haven't heard anyone call me.
Your duty as a gentleman calls you.
My duty as a gentleman has never interfered with my pleasures in the smallest degree.
I can certainly understand that.
Well, Cecily is a darling.
You will not talk that way about Miss Cardew. I don't like it.
Well, I don't like your clothes. You look perfectly ridiculous in them. Why don't you go up and change? It is perfectly childish of you to be in deep mourning for somebody who's going to be staying with you as a guest in your own house. I call it grotesque.
You aren't going to be staying in my house for a week as a guest or anything else. You've got to leave by the 4:05 train.
Well, I certainly won't leave you if you are in mourning. It is most unfriendly. If I were in mourning, you would stay with me, I suppose. I would find it most unkind if you didn't.
Will you go if I change my clothes?
Yes, if you are not too long. I've never seen a person take so long to dress with such little result.
Well, at any rate, it's better than always being overdressed as you are.
If I am ever occasionally overdressed, I make up for it for being very highly overeducated.
Your vanity is ridiculous, your conduct an outrage, and your presence in my garden utterly absurd. But you've got to leave, you've got to make the 4:05. I certainly hope you will enjoy your trip back to town. This bundering, as you call it, has not been a great success for you.
Well, I think it has been a great success. I am in love with Cecily, and that is everything. But I must see her before I make arrangements for another bundering. There she is.
Oh, I nearly came back to water the roses. I thought you were with Uncle Jack.
He's gone to send the dog cart for me.
Oh, is he going to take you for a nice drive?
He's going to send me away.
Then have we got to part?
I am afraid so. It is such a painful parting.
It is always painful to part from people who one has known for a very brief space of time. One can endure the absence of old friends with equanimity, but even a momentary separation from anyone to whom one has just been introduced is almost unbearable.
Thank you.
The dog cart is at the door, sir.
It can wait, Merriman, for 5 minutes.
Yes, miss.
Cecily, I hope you're not offended if I state quite frankly and openly that you seem to me, the very visible personification of absolute perfection.
I think your frankness does you great credit, Ernest. If you will allow me, I would like to copy your remarks into my diary.
Oh, do you really keep a diary? I would very much like to see it. May I?
Oh no, it is simply a very young girl's record of her own thoughts and impressions, and consequently meant for publication. But when it appears in volume form, I do hope you order a copy. But pray, Ernest, don't stop. I delight in taking down from dictation. I have reached absolute perfection. You can go on now. I am quite ready for more. Don't cough, Ernest. When one is dictating, one should speak fluently and not cough. Besides, I don't know how to spell a cough.
Cecily, ever since I first gazed upon your beautiful and wondrous expression, I have dared to love you wildly, passionately, devotedly, hopelessly.
I don't think you should tell me that you love me wildly, passionately, devotedly, hopelessly. Hopelessly doesn't make much sense, does it?
Cecily,
dog cart is at the door, sir.
Tell it to come around next week at the same hour.
Yes, sir.
Uncle Jack would be very annoyed if you knew you were staying on till next week at the same hour.
Oh, I don't care about Jack. I don't care about anyone else in the world at all, except you, Cecily. I love you. You will marry me, won't you?
You dear romantic boy, why we have been engaged for the past 3 months.
For the past 3 months?
Yes, it will be exactly 3 months on Thursday.
But how did we become engaged?
Well, ever since dear Uncle Jack first confessed to us that he had a younger brother who was very wicked and bad, you of course formed the chief topic of conversation between myself and Miss Prism. And of course, a man who is much talked about is always very attractive. I dare say it was foolish of me, Ernest, but I fell in love with you.
Darling. But how did we become engaged?
On the 14th of February last, worn out by the entire ignorance of my existence, but I, determined to end the matter one way or the other, and after a long struggle with myself, I accepted you under this dear old tree, and the next day I bought this little ring in your name, and this is the bangle with the true lover's knot I promised you always to wear.
Did I give you this? It's very pretty, isn't it?
Yes, Ernest. It's the excuse I'd always given you for leading such a bad life. And here is the box in which I kept all your dear letters.
My letters? But, my sweet Cecily, I've never written you any letters.
You need not remind me of that, Ernest. I remember too well that I was forced to write them for you. I wrote always 3 times a week and sometimes oftener.
Oh, do let me read them, Cecily.
Oh, no, I couldn't possibly. They'd make you far too conceited. The 3 I'd written you after I'd broken off the engagement are so beautifully written and so badly spelled. I can hardly read them now without crying a little.
But, Cecily, when was the engagement ever broken off?
On the 22nd of last March. You can read the entry if you like. Today I broke off my engagement with Ernest. I feel it is better to do so. The weather still continues charming.
But Cecily, why did you break off the engagement? I had done nothing. What had I done? I'm very glad to hear you broke off the engagement, especially when the weather was so charming.
Well, it wouldn't have been a really serious engagement if it hadn't been broken off at least once. But I forgave you before the week was out.
What a sweet angel you are.
You dear romantic boy. I hope your hair kills naturally. Does it?
Yes, with a little help from others.
I am so glad.
Oh, you'll never break off our engagement again, will you, Cecily?
I don't think I can now that we've actually met. And, of course, there is the question of your name.
Oh, yes, of course.
You mustn't laugh at me, darling, but it had always been a girlish dream of mine to love someone whose name was Earnest. There is something in that name that inspires one with absolute confidence. I pity any poor woman whose husband is not called Ernest.
But, my dear child, do you mean to tell me that you couldn't love me if I had some other name?
But what other name?
Oh, any name you'd like. Algernon.
But I don't like the name of Algernon.
Oh, but my dear, sweet, loving little darling. I don't see why you would object to the name of Algernon. It is not at all a bad name. In fact, it is quite an aristocratic name. Half the chaps that go into the bankruptcy court are called Algernon. But, seriously, Cecily, if my name was Algie, couldn't you love me?
I might respect you, Ernest. I might admire your character. But I fear I should not be able to give you my undivided attention.
Cecily, your rector is here, and I suppose thoroughly knowledgeable in all of the rites and ceremonials of the church.
Oh yes, Dr. Chasuble is a most learned man. He has never written a single book, so you can imagine how much he knows.
I must see him for a very important christening.
Oh?
I mean, on very important business. I shall be back no more than half an hour.
Considering that we have been engaged since February 14th, and that I've only met you today for the first time, I fear it is rather hard for you to leave me for so long a period as half an hour. Couldn't you make it 20 minutes?
I shall be back in no time.
What an impetuous boy he is. I love his hair so much. I must enter his proposal into my diary.
Miss Fairfax has just called to see Mr. Worthing on very important business, Miss Fairfax states.
Is it Mr. Worthing in his library?
Mr. Worthing went off in the direction of the rectory some time ago.
Pray ask the lady to come out here. Mr. Worthing is sure to be back soon, and you can bring tea.
Yes, yes.
Miss Fairfax. I suppose one of the many good elderly women associated with Uncle Jack. I don't quite like women who are interested in philanthropic work. It is so forward of them.
Miss Fairfax.
Pray, let me introduce myself to you. My name is Cecily Cardew.
Cecily Cardew. Oh, what a very sweet name. I think we are going to be very good friends. I like you already more than I can say. And my first impressions of people are never wrong.
How nice of you to like me after such a comparatively short time. Pray, sit down.
I may call you Cecily, may I not?
With pleasure.
Oh, you will always call me Gwendolen, won't you?
If you wish.
Oh, then that is quite all settled, isn't it?
I hope so.
Oh. Perhaps this might be a favourable opportunity for my mentioning who I am. My father is Lord Bracknell. You've never heard of Papa, I suppose?
No, I don't think so.
Outside the family circle, Papa, I'm glad to say, is entirely unknown. And that is quite as it should be. The home seems to me to be the proper sphere for a man, and once a man begins to neglect his domestic duties, he becomes painfully effeminate, does he not? And I don't like that. It makes men so very attractive. Cecily, Ma, whose views on education are remarkably strict, has brought me up to be quite short-sighted. It's part of her system. So would you mind at all my looking at you through my glasses?
Oh, not at all, dear Gwendolen. I am very fond of being looked at.
You are here on a short visit, I suppose.
Oh, no, I live here.
Really? And your mother, no doubt, or some other female relative of advanced years, resides here also.
No mother, nor in fact any relations.
Indeed.
Yes, my guardian, with the assistance of Miss Prism, has the arduous task of looking after me.
Your guardian?
Yes, I am Mr. Worthing's ward.
He never mentioned to me that he had a ward. How very secretive of him. Grows more interesting hourly. I must admit that the news does not fill me with feelings of unmixed delight. Cecily, I like you very much. I've liked you ever since I met you. But now that I know that you are Mr. Worthing's ward, I cannot help expressing a wish that you were, well, just a bit older than you seem to be, and perhaps not quite so very alluring in appearance. In fact, if I may speak candidly...
Oh, pray do. I think that whenever one has something unpleasant to say, one should always be quite candid.
Well, to speak with perfect candour, Cecily, I wish you were fully 42, and more than usually plain for your age. Ernest has a strong, upright nature. He is the very soul of truth and honour. Disloyalty would be as impossible to him as deception. But even men of the noblest possible moral character are still extremely susceptible to the physical charms of others. Modern, no less than ancient history, provides us with many most painful examples of what I refer to. If it were not so, indeed, history would be quite unreadable.
I beg your pardon, dear Gwendolen. Did you say Ernest?
Yes.
Oh, but it is not Mr. Ernest Worthing who is my guardian. It is his brother, his elder brother.
Ernest never mentioned to me that he had a brother.
Yes, I'm afraid they haven't been on good terms for quite a long time.
Oh, I suppose that accounts for it. Now that I think of it, I've never heard any man mention his brother. The subject seems to be distasteful to most men. Cecily, you've lifted a load from my mind. I was growing growing almost anxious. And it would be such a shame if any cloud had come across a friendship like ours, would it not? Of course, you are quite sure that it is not Mr. Earnest Worthing who is your guardian.
Quite sure. In fact, I am going to be his.
I beg your pardon.
There is no reason I should make a secret of it to you, dear Gwendolyn. Our little county newspaper is sure to chronicle the fact next week that Mr. Earnest and I are engaged to be married.
I believe there must be some slight error, Cecily, for Mr. Earnest Worthing is engaged to me. The announcement will appear in the Morning Post on Saturday at the latest.
You must be under some misconception, dear Gwendolyn. Earnest proposed to me exactly 10 minutes ago.
Well, that is certainly very curious, for he asked me to be his wife yesterday afternoon at 5:30. If you care to verify the incident, pray do so. I never travel without my diary. One must always have something sensational to read on the train. I am terribly sorry if it is any disappointment to you, dear Cecily, but as you can see, I have the prior claim.
It would distress me more than I can tell you, dear Gwendolyn, if it has caused you any mental or physical anguish. But I feel bound to point out that since Ernest proposed to you, he has clearly changed his mind.
If the poor fellow has found himself entrapped into any foolish promise, I shall consider it my duty to rescue him at once, and with a firm hand.
Whatever unfortunate entanglement my dear boy may have gotten into, I will not reproach him with it after we are married.
Do you refer to me, Miss Cardew, as an entanglement? Oh, you are presumptuous. On an occasion such as this, it becomes more than a moral duty to speak one's mind. It becomes a pleasure.
Do you suggest, Miss Fairfax, that I entrapped Ernest into an engagement? How dare you? This is no time for wearing the shallow mask of manners. When I see a spade, I call it a spade.
Well, I am glad to say that I have never seen a spade. It is obvious that our social spheres have been widely different.
It's widely different.
Shall I pay tea here as usual, miss?
Yes, as usual.
Are there any interesting walks in the vicinity, Miss Cardew?
Oh, yes, a great many. From one at the top of the hills, quite close, one can see 5 counties.
5 counties? I don't think I should like that. I hate crowds.
I suppose that is why you live in the town.
Quite a well-kept garden this is, Miss Cardew.
So glad you like it, Miss Fairfax.
I had no idea that there were any flowers in the country.
Oh, flowers are as common here as people are in London.
I have no idea how anybody manages to survive in the country. That is, if anybody who is anybody does. The country always bores me to death.
Oh, this is what the newspapers call agricultural depression, is it not? I believe the aristocracy are suffering from it very much just at present, I have been told. Would you like some tea, Miss Fairfax?
Oh, thank you. Detestable girl. But I do require tea.
Sugar?
No, thank you. Sugar is not fashionable anymore.
Cake or bread and butter?
Bread and butter, please. Cake is not seen at the best houses nowadays.
How much, Miss Fairfax?
You have filled my tea with lumps of sugar. And though I have asked most distinctly for bread and butter, you have given me cake. I am known for the gentleness of my disposition and the extraordinary sweetness of my nature. But I warn you, Miss Cardew, you may go too far.
To save my poor, innocent, trusting boy from the machinations of any other girl, there are no lengths to which I would not go.
Oh! From the moment I met you, I distrusted you. I felt you were false and deceitful. And I am never deceived in such matters. My first impressions of people are invariably right.
It seems to
married to this young lady?
Little Cecily? Of course not. What could have put such an idea in your pretty little head?
I thought so. You may.
I knew there must be some misunderstanding, Miss Fairfax. The gentleman whose arm is at present round your waist is my dear guardian, Mr. John Worthing.
I beg your pardon.
That is Uncle Jack.
Jack?
Here is Ernest. A moment, Ernest. Are you engaged to be married to that young lady?
What young lady? Oh, good heavens!
Yes to Uncle Heavens, Gwendolyn. Yes to Gwendolyn.
Of course not. What would have put such an idea in your pretty little head?
Thank you. You may.
I thought there must be some slight error, Miss Cardew, for the gentleman who's currently embracing you is my cousin, Mr. Algernon Moncrief.
Algernon Moncrief. Oh, are you called Algernon?
I cannot deny it.
Ah, and is your name really John?
I could deny it. I could deny anything if I liked. But my name certainly is John. It has been John for years.
It seems a gross deception has been practiced on the both of us.
Oh, my poor wounded Cecily.
My sweet, wronged Gwendolyn.
Oh, you will call me sister, won't you?
One question I would like to be allowed to ask my guardian.
An excellent idea. Mr. Worthing, there is just one question I would like to be permitted to put to you. Where is your brother Ernest? We are both engaged to be married to your brother Ernest, so it is a matter of some importance to us where your brother Ernest is at present.
Gwendolyn, Cecily, it is very painful for me to be put in a position where I must speak the truth. It is the first time that I've ever been, in my life, I've ever been reduced to such a painful position. And I have no experience whatsoever of doing anything of the kind. But I will tell you candidly, I have no brother, Ernest. I have no brother at all. I've never had a brother, and I certainly have not the smallest intention of ever having a brother in the future.
No brother at all?
None.
Had you never a brother of any kind?
Never. Not even of any kind.
I'm afraid it is quite clear, Cecily, that neither of us is engaged to be married to anyone.
It is not a very pleasant position for a young girl to suddenly find herself in, is it?
Let us go at once into the house. They will hardly venture to follow us there.
No, men are so cowardly, aren't they?
This ghastly state of things is what you call bunburying, I suppose?
Oh, yes. You know, what a wonderful Bunbury it is. In fact, it is the best Bunbury I have ever had.
But you have no right to Bunbury here.
Oh, that is absurd. One has a right to Bunbury wherever one chooses. Every serious Bunburyist knows that.
Serious Bunburyist? Oh, good heavens.
Well, one must be serious about something if one wants to have any amusement in life. I happen to be serious about Bunburying. What on earth you're serious about, I haven't the remotest idea. About anything I should fancy, you have an absolutely trivial nature.
Well, the only small comfort I have in the whole of this wretched business is that your Mr. Bunbury is now quite exploded. You won't be able to sneak down into the country quite so often as you used to, Algy. And a very good thing, too.
Your brother is a little off color, isn't he, dear Jack? You won't be able to sneak off into London as your wicked custom was. And not a bad thing either.
And as for your conduct towards Miss Cardew, I think you're taking in a sweet, innocent, simple girl like that is quite inexcusable. To say nothing of the fact that she is my ward.
I see no possible defense for you to deceive such a brilliant, clever, thoroughly experienced young lady like Miss Fairfax, to say nothing of the fact that she is my cousin.
I merely wanted to be engaged to Gwendolyn. I love her.
Well, I simply wanted to be engaged to Cecily. I adore her.
Well, there is certainly no chance of you ever being married to Miss Cardew.
Well, I see no possible way of you and Miss Fairfax being united.
It's no business of yours.
And if it was my business, I wouldn't talk about it. It's very vulgar to talk about one's own business. Only people like stockbrokers do that, and merely only at dinner parties.
How you can stand there, calmly eating muffins, while we're in this terrible trouble, I can't quite make out. You seem perfectly heartless.
Well, I can't eat muffins in an agitated manner. The butter would probably get on my cuffs. One can only eat muffins very calmly. It is the only way to eat them.
I mean to say that you're perfectly heartless for eating muffins at all, under the circumstances.
When I am in trouble, eating is the only thing that consoles me. In fact, when I am in great trouble, as anyone very close to me will tell you, I refuse everything except food and drink. At the present moment, I am eating muffins because I am unhappy. Besides, I'm particularly fond of muffins.
You don't need to be eating them in such a greedy way.
Oh, but you just said it was perfectly heartless to eat muffins.
I said it was perfectly heartless for you. This is an entirely different matter.
That may be so, but the muffins are the same.
Algy, I wish to goodness you would go.
You can't possibly ask me to go without having some dinner. I never go without my dinner. No one ever does, except vegetarians and people like that. Besides, I have an appointment with Dr. Chasuble to be christened at 6:15 under the name of Earnest.
The sooner you give up that nonsense, old boy, the better. I have already made an appointment with Dr. Chasuble this morning to be christened at 5:30. And naturally, I will take the name of Earnest. And Gwendolyn would wish it. We can't both be christened as Earnest. It's perfectly absurd. Besides, I have every right to be christened if I want. There's no evidence whatsoever that I was ever christened by anybody. And I strongly suspect that I never was. Dr. Chasuble agrees. It's entirely different in your case. You've been christened already.
Yes, but I have not been christened in quite some time.
Ma, but you have been christened. That is the important part.
Quite so I know my constitution can stand it. You, on the other hand, have not been christened. You are not sure if you have, so I wouldn't dare venture on it now if I were you. It might make you very ill. You may seem to have forgotten that someone very closely connected to you was almost carted away in Paris by a severe chill.
But you told me yourself that a severe chill is not hereditary.
Well, it isn't, but dare I say it is now. Science is always making great improvements in things.
That is nonsense.
Jack, you are at the muffins again. I wish you wouldn't. There are only two left. I told you I was very fond of muffins.
But I hate tea cake.
Then why do you serve tea cake for your guests? What ideas do you have of hospitality?
Algernon, I have told you to go. I don't want you here. Why don't you go?
I haven't quite finished my tea yet. Besides, there's still one muffin left.
fact that they did not follow us at once into the house, as anyone else would have done, seems to me to show that they have at least some sense of shame left.
They have been eating muffins. That looks like repentance.
They don't seem to notice us at all. Couldn't you cough?
But I haven't got to cough.
Oh, they're looking at us. Oh, what effrontery.
They're approaching. How forward of them.
Let us preserve a dignified silence.
Certainly. It's the only thing to do now.
This dignified silence seems to produce a most unpleasant breath.
A most distasteful one.
But we will not be the first to speak.
Certainly not.
Mr. Worthing, I have something very particular to ask you, and much depends on your reply.
Gwendolyn, your common sense is invaluable. Mr. Moncrief, kindly answer me the following question. Why did you pretend to be my guardian's brother?
In order for me to have an opportunity of meeting you.
That certainly seems like a satisfactory explanation, does it not?
Yes, dear, if you can believe him.
I don't, but that does not affect the wonderful beauty of his answer.
True. In matters of grave importance, style, not sincerity, is the vital thing. Mr. Worthing, what explanation can you offer to me for having pretended to have a brother? Was it so that you might have the opportunity of coming into town to visit me as often as possible?
Can you doubt it, Miss Fairfax?
I have the gravest doubts upon the subject. But I intend to crush them. It's not the time for German skepticism. Their answers do seem to be satisfactory, especially Mr. Worthing's. Seems to me to have the stamp of truth upon it.
I am more than content with what Mr. Moncrief said. His voice alone inspires one with absolute credulity.
So do you think we should forgive him?
Yes. I mean, no.
Proof. There are principles at stake which one cannot surrender. Which we should tell them. The task is not a pleasant one.
Could we not both speak at the same time?
An excellent idea. I nearly always speak at the same time as other people. Will you take the time from me?
Certainly.
Your
Christian names are still an insuperable barrier. That is all.
Our Christian names?
Is that all?
But we are to be christened this afternoon.
Oh, for my sake, are you prepared to do this terrible thing?
I am.
To please me, are you ready to face this fearful ordeal?
I am.
How absurd to talk of the equality of the sexes. When questions of self-sacrifice are concerned, men are infinitely beyond us.
We are.
They have moments of physical courage of which we women know absolutely nothing. Darling.
Gwendolyn, my own.
Lady Bracknell.
Good heavens.
Gwendolyn, what does this mean?
Merely that I am engaged to be married to Mr. Worthing, Mamma.
Sit down immediately. Hesitation of any kind is a sign of mental decay in the young, of physical weakness in the old. Apprised, sir, of my daughter's sudden flight by her trusty maid, whose confidence I purchased by means of a small coin, I followed her at once by a luggage train. Her unhappy father is, I am glad to say, under the impression she is attending a more than usually lengthy lecture by the University Extension Scheme on the influence of a permanent income on thought. I do not propose to undeceive him. Indeed, I have never undeceived him on any question I would consider it wrong. But now you will clearly understand that all communication between yourself and my daughter must cease immediately. On this point, as indeed on all points, I am firm.
I am engaged to be married to Miss Fairfax, Lady Bracknell.
You're nothing of the kind, sir. And now as regards Algernon. Algernon,
Yes, Aunt Augusta.
may I ask you, is it in this house that your invalid friend Mr. Bunbury resides?
Oh, Bunbury? No. Bunbury doesn't live here. Bunbury's elsewhere. In fact, Bunbury is dead.
Dead? When did he die? His death must have been extremely sudden.
Oh, I killed Bunbury this afternoon. I mean, Bunbury died this afternoon.
What did he die of?
He was quite exploded.
Exploded? Was he the victim of a revolutionary outrage? I was not aware that Mr. Bunbury was interested in social legislation. Well, if so, he is well punished for his morbidity.
My dear Aunt Augusta, what I mean is that Bunbury was found out. The doctors found out that Bunbury could not live, so Bunbury died.
He must have had a great confidence in the opinion of his physician. Well, I am glad, however, that he finally made up his mind and took a direct course of action and acted under proper medical advice. And now that we have finally got rid of this Mr. Bunbury, Mr. Worthing, may I ask, who is that young person whose hand my nephew Algernon is holding in what seems to be a peculiarly unnecessary manner?
That lady is Miss Cecily Cardew, my ward.
I am engaged to be married to Cecily Aunt Augusta.
I beg your pardon?
Mr. Moncrief and I are engaged to be married, Lady Bracknell.
I do not know if there is something peculiarly exciting in the air of this particular part of Hertfordshire, but the number of engagements going on seems to me considerably above the proper average that statistics have laid down for our guidance. I think a preliminary inquiry on my part would not be out of place. Mr. Worthing, is Miss Cardew at all related to any of the larger railway stations in London? I merely desire information. It wasn't until yesterday that I became aware that there were persons and families whose origin is a terminus.
Miss Cardew is the granddaughter of the late Mr. Thomas Cardew of 149 Belgrave Square, SW, Gervais Park, Dorking, Surrey, and the Sporran, Fifeshire, NB.
Oh, that sounds not unsatisfactory. 3 addresses always inspires confidence, even in tradesmen. But what proof have I of their authenticity?
I have preserved the court guides of the period. They're open to your inspection, Lady Bracknell.
I have no strange errors in that publication.
Her family solicitors are Messrs. Markby, and Markby.
Oh, Markby, and Markby. A firm of the very highest position in their profession. Indeed, I am told that one of the Mr. Markbys can be occasionally seen at dinner parties. So far I am satisfied.
Well, that is very kind of you, Lady Bracknell. I also have in my possession, you'll be very pleased to hear, her certificates of birth, baptism, whooping cough, registration, vaccination, confirmation, and measles. Both the English and German varieties.
A life crowded with incident, I see, but perhaps somewhat too exciting for a young girl. I am not myself in favor of premature experiences. Come, Gwendolyn, the time for our departure nears. As a matter of form, Mr. Worthing, I had better ask you, does Miss Cardew have any little fortune?
Merely £130,000 in the funds. That is all. Goodbye, Lady Bracknell. So nice seeing you.
A moment, Mr. Worthing. £130,000 in the funds? Miss Cardew seems to be a most attractive young lady now that I look at her. Few girls have any really solid qualities, any of the qualities that grow and improve with time. We live, I regret to say, in an age of surfaces. Come over here, dear. Oh, your dress is sadly simple, and your hair looks almost as nature might have left it. But we can soon alter all that. A thoroughly experienced French maid produces a really marvelous result in a very brief space of time. Why, I remember recommending one to young Lady Lancing. After 3 months, her own husband didn't know her.
After 6 months, nobody knew her.
Kindly turn around here. No, it is the side view that I want. Oh, yes, quite as I expected. There are distinct social possibilities in your profile. The 2 weaknesses of our age are its want of principle and its want of profile. The chin a little higher, dear. Style largely depends on how the chin is worn. They are worn very high at present. Algernon,
Yes, Aunt Augusta.
there are distinct social possibilities in Miss Cardew's profile.
Cecily is the sweetest, prettiest girl I know. I don't care twopence about social possibilities.
Oh, never speak disrespectfully of society, Algernon. Only people who can't get into it do that. Now, my dear, of course you know that Algernon has nothing but his debts to depend upon, and I don't approve of mercenary marriages. Why, when I married Lord Bracknell, I didn't have a fortune of any kind, but I never allowed for one moment that that to stand in my way. Well, I suppose I should give my consent.
Thank you, Aunt Augusta.
Cecily, you may kiss me.
Thank you, Lady Bracknell.
You may also address me as Aunt Augusta for the future.
Thank you, Aunt Augusta.
I think the wedding had better take place quite soon.
Well, thank you, Aunt Augusta.
Thank you, Aunt Augusta.
To speak frankly, I am not in favor of long engagements. They give people the opportunity to find out each other's character before marriage. That is never advisable.
Pray forgive me for interrupting you, Lady Bracknell, but this engagement is quite out of the question. I am Miss Cardew's guardian, and she cannot legally get married without my consent until she comes of age. And that consent I quite decline to give.
Upon what grounds, may I ask? Algernon is an extremely, I may almost say ostentatiously eligible young man. He has nothing, but he looks everything. What more can one desire?
It pains me to have to speak so frankly to you, Lady Bracknell, about your nephew, but I don't quite approve of his moral character. I suspect him of being untruthful.
Untruthful? My nephew Algernon? Impossible! He is an Oxonian.
I'm afraid there really can be no doubt about the matter. During my temporary absence in London yesterday afternoon, on an important question of romance, he gained admission to my house under the false pretense of being my brother. Under this assumed identity, he then proceeded to drink, I've just been told by my butler, an entire pint bottle of my Perrier-Jouet Brut 89, wine that I'd been specially saving for myself. He then continued his disgraceful deception and over the course of the afternoon succeeded in alienating the affection of my only ward. He then proceeded to stay to tea, where he devoured every single muffin. And what makes his conduct all the more heartless is that he knew from the first that I have no brother, that I've never had a brother, that I never intend to have a brother in the future, not even of any kind. And I told him this myself yesterday afternoon.
Mr. Worthing, after careful consideration, I have decided entirely to overlook my nephew's conduct to you.
That is very generous of you, Lady Bracknell, but my own decision is quite unalterable. I decline to give my consent.
Come here, dear. How old are you?
Well, I'm really only 18, but I always admit to 20 at evening parties.
You are perfectly right in making some slight alteration. Indeed, no woman should ever be quite accurate about her age. It looks so calculating. 18, but admitting to 20 at evening parties. Well, it will not be very long now before you are of age and free from the restraints of tutelage. So I don't think your guardian's consent is a matter of any importance.
Please forgive me again for interrupting you, Lady Bracknell, but I feel it's only fair to tell you that, according to the terms of her late grandfather's will, Miss Cecily Cardew does not come of age until she turns 35.
I do not see that as any grave objection. 35 is a very attractive age. Why, London society is filled with ladies of the very highest birth who of their own free choice have remained 35 for years. Lady Dumbledon is an instance in point. To my own knowledge, she has been 35 ever since she arrived at the age of 40, which was many years ago now. So I see no reason why our dear Cecily shall not be even still as attractive at the age you mentioned than she is at present. And there will be a large accumulation of property.
Algy, could you wait for me till I was 35?
Of course I could. You know I could.
Yes, I felt it instinctively, but I couldn't wait all that time. I hate waiting even 5 minutes for anybody. It always makes me rather cross. And I am not punctual myself, I know, but I do like punctuality in others, and waiting, even to be married, is quite out of the question.
Well, then what is to be done, Cecily?
I don't know, Mr. Moncrief.
My dear Mr. Worthing, as Miss Cardew states positively that she cannot wait until she is 35, a remark, I feel bound to say, shows a somewhat impatient nature. I would beg of you to reconsider your decision.
My dear Lady Bracknell, the decision is entirely in your hands. For you see, as soon as you give your approval of my marriage to Gwendolen, well, I will gladly give my approval of your nephew forming an alliance with my ward.
You must be quite aware that what you propose is out of the question.
Well then, a passionate celibacy is all that any of us really have to look forward to.
That is not the destiny I propose for Gwendolen. Algernon can, of course, do as he chooses. Come, dear, we have missed 5, if not 6 trains already. To miss any more might expose us to comment on the platform.
Everything is quite ready for the christenings.
The christening, sir? Is not that somewhat premature?
Both of these gentlemen have expressed a desire for immediate baptism.
At their age? The idea is grotesque and irreligious. Algernon, I forbid you to be baptized. I will not hear of such excesses. Lord Bracknell would be highly displeased if he were to learn that this is the way in which you waste your time and money.
Am I to understand that there are to be no christenings at all this afternoon?
I think that, seeing how things are, that it would be of any practical value to either of us, Dr. Chasuble.
I am grieved to hear such sentiments from you, Mr. Worthing. They savor of the heretical views of the Anabaptists, views which I have completely refuted in 4 of my unpublished sermons. However, as your present mood seems to be one peculiarly secular, I shall return to the church at once. Indeed, I've just been informed by the pew opener that for the last hour and a half, Miss Prism has been waiting for me in the vestry.
Miss Prism? Did I hear you mention a Miss Prism?
Yes, Lady Bracknell. I am on my way to join her.
Allow me to detain you for a moment. This matter may be of vital importance to Lord Bracknell and myself. Is this Miss Prism a female of a repellent aspect, remotely connected with education?
She is the most cultivated of ladies and the very picture of respectability.
It is obviously the same person. May I ask what position she has in your household?
I am a celibate, madam.
Lady Bracknell, for the past 3 years, Miss Prism has been the Miss Cardew's esteemed governess and most valued companion.
Well, in spite of what I hear of her, I must see her at once. Let her be sent for.
She approaches. She is nigh.
I was told you expected me in the vestry, dear Canon. I've been waiting for you there for an hour and 3 quarters.
Prism. Come here, Prism. Prism, where is that baby? 28 years ago, Prism, you left Lord Bracknell's house at number 104 Upper Grosvenor Street in charge of a perambulator that contained a baby of the male sex. You never returned. After several weeks and through the elaborate investigations of the Metropolitan Police, the perambulator was located at midnight, standing by itself in a remote corner of Bayswater. It contained a manuscript of a 3-volume novel of more than usually revolting sentimentality. But the baby was not there. Prism, where is that baby?
Lady Bracknell, I am ashamed to admit that I do not know. I only wish I did. The plain facts of the case are these. On the morning of the day you mention, a day that is forever branded on my memory. I prepared as usual to take the baby out in its perambulator. I had with me a somewhat old but capacious handbag in which I had intended to place the manuscript of a work of fiction that I had written during my few unoccupied hours. In a moment of mental abstraction, for which I can never forgive myself, I deposited the manuscript in the bassinet and placed the baby in the handbag.
But where did you deposit the handbag?
Oh, do not ask me, Mr. Worthing.
This is a matter of no small importance to me, Miss Prism. I insist that you tell me right now where you deposited the handbag that contained that infant.
I left it in the cloakroom of one of the larger railway stations in London.
Which station?
Victoria. The Brighton Line!
Gwendolyn, I need to retire to my room. You'll wait for me?
If you are not too long about it, I will wait for you all my life.
Lady Bracknell, what do you think this means?
I dare not even suspect, Dr. Trustable. I need hardly tell you that in families of high position, strange coincidences are not supposed to occur. They are not considered the thing.
Uncle Jack seems strangely agitated.
Your guardian seems to have a most emotional nature.
This noise is extremely unpleasant. It sounds like he was having an argument. Oh, I dislike arguments of any kind. They're always vulgar and often convincing.
It stopped.
Oh, I wish he'd arrive at some conclusion.
The suspense is terrible, but I hope it will last.
Miss Prism, is this the handbag? Pray examine it carefully before you answer. More than one life's happiness depends upon your response.
It seems to be mine. Yes. Here is the injury it received through the upsetting of a Gower Street omnibus in younger and happier days. And here, on the lining, is the stain, caused by the explosion of a temperance beverage, an incident that happened in Leamington. And here on the lock are my initials. Oh, I had forgotten in a moment of extravagance that I had them placed there. Oh, the bag is undoubtedly mine. I am delighted to have it returned to me. It has been quite an inconvenience being without it all these years.
More than the handbag has been restored to you, Miss Prism. I was the infant you placed within.
You?
Yes. Mother!
Mr. Worthing! I am unmarried.
Oh, unmarried. I do admit that is a serious blow. Oh, but who really can afford to cast stones at one who has suffered? And cannot an act of repentance wipe out an act of folly? And why should there be one set of laws for men and another for women? Mother, I forgive you!
Mr. Worthing, there has been some error. There is the woman who can tell you who you really are.
Lady Bracknell, I hate to appear too inquisitive, but might you tell me who I am?
I'm afraid the news I have to give you will not please you altogether. But you are the son of my poor sister, Mrs. Moncrief, and consequently Algernon's elder brother.
Algy's elder brother? I have a brother after all. Of course, I always said I had a brother. I always knew I had a brother. Cecily, how could you have doubted that I have a brother? Dr. Johnson, my unfortunate brother. Miss Prism, my unfortunate brother. Gwendolyn, my unfortunate brother. You young scoundrel, Algy. You're going to have to treat me with more respect from now on. You have never treated me as a brother once in your whole life.
Well, not till today, old boy, I must admit. Though I was out of practice.
Oh, my own? Oh, but what own are you now that you have become someone else?
Anyway, quite forgotten about that point. And your decision concerning my name is quite irrevocable, I suppose?
I never change, except in my affections.
What a noble nature you have, dear Gwendolyn.
Well, best to resolve this now. Aunt Augusta, at the time that Miss Prism put me in that handbag, had I been christened already?
Every luxury that money could buy had been lavished on you by your fond and doting parents, including christening.
Ah, well, I had been christened, all right. Okay, what name was I given? Let me know the worst.
Well, being the eldest son, you were naturally named after your father.
Yes, of course, but what was my father's Christian name?
I cannot recall at present what the general's name was, though I have no doubt he had one. Oh, he was eccentric, I admit, but only in later years, and that was a result of the Indian climate, and marriage, and indigestion, and other things of that kind.
Oh, say, Algy, can't you recollect what our father's Christian name was?
My dear boy, we were never even on speaking terms. He died before I was a year old.
But his name would appear in the army list of the period, would they not, Lady Bracknell?
Well, the general was essentially a man of peace, except in his domestic life. But I have no doubt his name would appear in any military directory.
I have the last 40 years of the army lists right here. These delightful volumes should have been the subject of my constant study. Malum, Moxbom, Magley, anyway, ghastly names they have. Marksby, Migsby, Mobbs, Moncrief. Lieutenants, 1840. Captain, Lieutenant Colonel, Colonel, General, 1869. Christian names. Earnest John. I always knew I was Ernest. I always said my name was Ernest. I am Earnest.
I remember now. The general was called Earnest. I knew there was a particular reason I disliked the name.
Oh, my own Ernest. I knew from the start that you could have no other name.
Gwendolyn, it is a terrible thing for a man to discover that for his entire life he's been speaking nothing but the truth. Can you ever forgive me?
I can, for I am certain you are to change.
Oh. Gwendolyn, my own.
Letitia!
Frederick, at last!
Cecily, at last.
Gwendolyn, at last.
Oh, my dear nephew, you do seem to be displaying signs of triviality.
On the contrary, Aunt Augusta, for the first time in my life, I've realized the vital importance of being earnest.